everybody, and Happy New Year if I haven't seen you yet. My name is Jamie Finley-Simino. I'm our Program Evaluation and Integration Officer here at Community Foundation, Lorain County. And we're really excited that you're joining us today to learn about People's Project. I'm going to introduce Cindy in a moment. I'm going to introduce some of the team here that works on community engagement. And then I'm going to turn it over to our partner at Ibrahim at Patronicity. But I want to talk just for a second about why we do this. Our strategic plan at Community Foundation Lorain County, as you can imagine, we're often most known for grant making and scholarships, and we're very proud of that. We're very proud of the funds that we have and the way we're able to support our community. But as we announced at our annual meeting this past year, really the volunteerism, the residential engagement, the fact that we can get neighbors out talking to neighbors and people figuring out how to build on the many strengths in our communities, and to solve problems and issues when we're faced with them, because we know that the best solutions come from all of you, from our community members. And so really that's what our residential engagement programs are about. And so whether it's neighbor nights that you've been to, and we'll do a little commercial for that at the end, or whether it's in the past when you've had a project and maybe something that we at the time we called IOB, that's really what this is leading up to. The People's Project is our new edition of that. We're very excited. We've been able to increase the match funding for it. And we just wanted to gather people today to talk about what that means and the source of the program. Cindy, is there anything?
Yeah, I would just echo everything that Jamie has said. You've got a team of folks sitting around the room here at the Community Foundation. We're delighted to be part of this. And this is really our focus from a community-led standpoint. And so as we kick off our 45th year, it's thanks to all of you and to projects like this that continue to elevate the voices within our community. So thanks to everyone sitting around the room. Brittany, thanks for bringing us all together this afternoon.
And now I want to turn it over to Ibrahim. Ibrahim is the founder and CEO at Patronicity. And we've been delighted to find such a collaborative partner and someone who believes in community and really believes that each of us have the part to play.
Thank you, Jamie. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ibrahim Baracia. And we have a little bit of a presentation for you, walking through the People's Project, what crowdfunding is, and kind of giving you a background of how this program can work and if it's an opportunity for you. After you guys can post questions in the chat, and then we'll also open up time for questions at the end. We'll go through the ones in the chat and we can do live questions as well. And we'll kick it off with that. So Patronicity, we are a civic crowdfunding platform.
I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 second and remind folks that we're recording this because there are folks who couldn't join us, and we will put this out there to them. So just so everybody knows, this is being recorded.
Yes, and you'll have access to it after as well. So Patronicity, we are a civic crowdfunding platform. We look to build vibrant communities. We connect change makers. That are people like you doing incredible projects on the ground with funding partners like the Community Foundation of Lorain County to support community-led initiatives. So we're similar to, like a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter, but our focus is very much community-led initiatives. And we have a couple more unique resources and tools that really set us apart. Primarily, we have one-on-one coaching that we love to provide to changemakers projects that you don't really get on other crowdfunding platforms. So our mission really is to revolutionize projects, the planning and implementation process, to transform communities through crowdfunding and crowd granting, and empower change makers, all of you that are doing incredible work within the communities to create healthy, sustainable, and more equitable communities. Essentially, you identify a project or an opportunity for growth in your neighborhood. We provide an easy-to-use crowdfunding platform, one-on-one coaching. We love to help develop strategies and ideas. We're not necessarily crowdfunding or fundraising for you, but we're giving you all the best tools, practices, and skills to run a more successful campaign. community members, they come in, they showcase the buy-in, and they support projects with their dollars or their marketing or their advertising or their sharing, and it really drives change. We see the success in crowdfunding coming from the transparency. Everybody sees all the dollars that are going in, and everyday people are looking to want to give even, $1 or $2 or $5, and it really adds up. It's about building that movement. And then lastly, with the generosity of like the Community Foundation of Lorain County and other partners, they provide a matching grant dollars to projects, amplifying the dollars that are given, doubling the dollars from donors. So donors feel, hey, if I give $5, it's $10. If I give $50, it's $100. And it really, amplifies that opportunity for fundraising and change in projects that you're trying to bring to life. So we're really excited to continue and to create the People's Project in partnership with the Community Foundation of Lorain County. We're just there to facilitate the program and work with people on the ground on the projects, talking them through how to create a project, how to start a project, how to fundraise, how to crowdfund. I'm sure many people have never crowdfunded before. A majority of the projects we work with have actually never crowdfunded, but we help teach and educate what are the tools, the skills that you need and that you can learn to make it work for you. Crowdfunding is essentially just fundraising, but adding an online component. I'll get into a couple other details that really can showcase how it's not as challenging or as different as maybe something you've tried before. We'll get into it. We launched the People's Project, and it is a really exciting opportunity. We've had a first successful campaign. We're also going to be hearing from Charlita, who's currently running another campaign already. And here's some details about this program. So essentially, it is a crowd granting program. It is combining both the opportunity of crowdfunding and then those dollars that are crowdfunded are getting matched. Now, there's a couple key components to qualify for that match. The projects must be volunteer-led. And so we want to see this program is really to support volunteer initiatives. So organizations that have a paid element to it. There are other opportunities there. I know the Community Foundation does support that as well. But this really is for projects that are volunteer-led. If you have an organization that has maybe a paid staff, but the whole project is really volunteer-led, that may qualify as well. The project has to be serving Lorain County residents, or at least majority of them. And so that is another key component. Projects will receive up to $2,000 in matching funds. You can set a goal larger than that. So you could say, hey, we would love to raise online, $4,000 in total. And so we're going to crowdfund $4,000. We're going to get a matching grant of additional $2,000. So that'll be $6,000 if we're able to raise all of those dollars. And so there is an opportunity. We'll work with you to identify and set an appropriate budget for your goal and for your project, and then see what we can do to help you get to that matching fund amount. There's a couple other stipulations. We want to see the community be a part of it. And so maybe you have, a local business owner or a strong, philanthropic supporter that can give you that $2,000. But this program is really about getting community support. And so $200 per donor maximum on the matching funds. That doesn't mean a donor can't give more than $200. They could give you $500. But only 200 of that will be eligible towards the $200 match. The other $300 will go towards your larger goal. And lastly, this program is kind of rolling. So we have a couple projects already a couple projects that are already approved, ready to go. And we plan on continuing this program through spring, summer, and fall, and continue it into next year, hopefully. One last piece. On that rolling timeline, we really want to work with you on a timeline that works best for you. So I'm talking to a gentleman who's interested in a Cinco de Mayo festival for his community. And so launching that closer to right before, in April, right before Cinco de Mayo. And so that timeline is rolling. If you have a project that you want to do in summer, late spring might be the time to fundraise. So we can be flexible and work with you on your timeline. So you don't have to rush right away. Crowdfunding, really it's the process of gathering community to provide the financial support, that's the funding for a project. And the key component is within a set period of time. So that urgency, it really adds to the success in crowdfunding. Crowd granting is a unique model that combines crowdfunding with the matching grant from a partner, a community foundation, to amplify those dollars and that project. Now, why do we believe so much in crowdfunding? Why do we want to educate and teach and work with you to leverage it for your projects in your community? It engages your community. It's about showing how people can become involved. One of my favorite stories about this is we ran a crowdfunding campaign for a project in Detroit. And we allow for offline donations to be added towards the campaign to showcase the total community support that's coming when people donate online, but also if someone gives you, cash or a check in an offline event. Back in the day, they used to have to send me what the offline reporting was. And one day I got like a note from the project I was working with saying they raised like $55.30. And I thought it was a very odd number. And she told me this little girl in their community, 8 years old, really was inspired by the community getting together to create this project. They were funding to putting landscaping outside their community center. And she, with the help of her mom, ran a bake sale. And so this really shows to me that every day and any day people can really be a part of it. Here's an 8-year-old girl who has no credit card or not really access to the internet. Definitely doesn't have a ton of money, but she was able to support her project. It also helps you build a donor and volunteer base. You're obviously going to be tapping into your core donor base, but there's a system that allows you to see, hey, there's more people that this can reach, and maybe we can grow that base. It helps you learn fundraising skills, how to plan for something. We'll walk you through all of those details. One of my favorite stories about building these fundraising skills is we worked with a lady a few years ago. She ran a crowdfunding campaign, had never done fundraising or crowdfunding. And then she came back to us 2 years later and was like, hey, I'm actually working on a political campaign to help them fundraise. So it was really exciting to see that fundraising skill set taking into the real world on another element of something that she's passionate about. It also builds awareness for your project. So funding is the important part, but we always say the crowd comes before the funding, quite literally. And so sometimes it's just as much of, hey, we might get 50 donors or 50 patrons, but 500 people heard about this initiative that we're running and what we're doing and why it's important and impactful. And maybe they'll come out to it, whether it's a Cinco de Mayo festival or a theater production that you're working on, or a community garden installation that you want to see. Whatever that may be. And then lastly, it's a way to engage existing funders and supporters. It's very transparent. It's easy to send and share a link to, and people can pull it up on their phone and within 30 seconds contribute $1, $5, $50, $500. All right, I'm going to turn it over and welcome Charlita. We've been working with her on the Outside Circle Theater project. A little plug here. You scan this little QR code or you go to patronicity.com/OCTP. You can see the actual page. You can give her $1 or $5. That would be amazing if everybody today gave her even just $1. But I'm going to turn it over to Charlita. And Charlita, thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about your project. What is it and why is it so important?
Thank you. And before I do that, I want to let everybody know that Ibrahim created this wonderful flyer. So that's one of the things that he did as my coach, helped us with social media and making sure that our print materials were done well, because I have no computer literacy where that's concerned. So I want to thank you. And that is a lovely flyer, Ibrahim. So thanks again. We started the Outside Circle Theater Project because the community, I think, was lacking in outlets for women and girls and underrepresented voices to perform and to write, because most of the community theater projects that we have in Lorain County are for children and musical theater, and kind of on the outskirts of the cities like Lorain and Elyria. So we have, programs in North Ridgeville, programs in Amherst, but nothing for, like I said, women and girls. And we also were concerned about what I think is what I perceive to be a push to basically outlaw and eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion programming in the communities. And so my mom always says, you got to get ready, you got to be ready so you don't have to get ready. So, I'm encouraging everyone who believes in something that if you think that's going to go away, or you think there's going to be some push in your community to eliminate something you believe in, create it so that when it does go away, you're ready. You're ready to fill that gap, and you're willing and able to do that. So we created Outside Circle Theater to produce theater works in the community. And we give a $250 award to a playwright every season on World Theater Day on March 27th. We create a contest, and then we pick the best play, and then we produce it. So last year we produced a play by a lady named Molly McFadden about downsizing. She's 75 years old, and she wrote about what it feels like to leave your life behind and start a new one at a certain age, and how she had to learn how to accept that or push back on it. And this year we are going to be producing 9 dinners in October by Rachel Zake, and it is a play about the lives and loves of women who meet once a year in October for dinner. What we thought we were doing was creating an outlet to talk about, I guess, race and social justice and racial equity. But what we got was, more than that. We got social issues. We got information from the community about what's important to them. We produced The Downside, and we sold out 2 nights in a row, because we are producing works that mean something to the community. Not that race and racial equity doesn't mean something in the community, but we forgot that there are other peripheral issues that are facing our community. And so we welcome, any perspective and any work that illustrates diversity and belonging, and gives diverse authors an opportunity to showcase their works. And the $250 we give as a pretty much a gratuity, but their work is worth so much more. So yeah, that's basically what Outside Circle Theater Project does. We started working with IOB in our backyard last year, and unfortunately they are no longer in existence. But thank goodness for Patronicity, because when you start a project in your community and you want to collect funds, it is very difficult to start a 501c3. You don't know where to start. You don't know what to do. You don't know, you have to speak with a lawyer, maybe. You don't know how to do the paperwork. But Patronicity and the People's Project gives us an opportunity to collect funds, and those funds are tax deductible to the donors, because the People's Project has partnered with Main Street Lorain to be a fiscal sponsor. And so while Patronicity helps with the crowdfunding access, the website, the coaching, and I do want to say again, the coaching is phenomenal. Ibrahim checks in with me regularly. He makes sure that my fundraising goals are met, that I am approaching fundraising from a very learned perspective. Things that you think you know, you don't. So Ibrahim is really good at giving me suggestions and making sure that that I follow through on his tips. So I'm very happy and honored to be a part of the People's Project and Patronicity as well. And again, thank you, Ibrahim, so much.
Thank you so much, Charlita. You answered some of my other questions, so that was
Oh,
perfect.
I'm sorry.
No, you're already ahead of the game. We're already on the same page. Last, I do have one more question for you, for the listeners. Is there one tip that you have for anyone listening to the webinar on planning or running a crowdfunding campaign?
The one tip is a faint heart never won a fair maiden. You have to get over your fear of asking for help and asking for money. And that's one of the things that I struggled with, particularly last year or 2 years ago, before I retired from my job as a magistrate. I was always ethically that I was always, it was always in the back of my head ethically that you can't ask for money. You can't ask people for anything as a judge or as a magistrate. You can't. But other people are just afraid to approach people because they assume that they won't give it to them. But but now that I'm retired, I've slowly gotten over my fear and my PTSD for over asking for money because you never know who's going to give it to you. And you have to reach out and ask. And particularly if you have this matching funds. And another suggestion that Ibrahim helped me with was to remember that, people like a 2-for-1 deal. They love it. They want their money to double. They want to double their impact. And so to give them information about the Community Foundation and which is another plug too, that the Community Foundation is matching the funds. But to give them information about what their money can do and how far it can stretch, always moves the needle. So don't be afraid. Just get up, just go ahead, ask for it. You don't get if you don't ask. And you have to be creative in doing that. And, Patronicity has helped me do that. I never put a video on, Facebook before, besides on Halloween in a stupid Halloween hat, but, to get people to come to my house for trick or treat. But, now one of the things that drew the biggest donations was me going on to Facebook in a video and letting people see my excitement and letting them understand that they are doubling their impact with the matching funds.
Thank you so much, Charlita. Again, her campaign is currently running. It ends at the end of this month. She's a little bit, almost halfway to her goal. As you can see here, I don't know if this is not live. This is a screenshot from earlier, but this is how her page looks.
Yeah, $1,375.
Yeah, and so anyone listening, if you want to give $1, it would be a great aspect of this webinar today. All right, we'll continue through.
I think there were a few people who had questions, particularly to your project in the chat.
Absolutely. Let me see.
Asking about where they might be able to see your play, can it still be seen? Is there any other questions? Okay, we'll take the questions that are relative to the People's Project at the end, but if there's any others in here specific to Charlita, we can do that now.
What does it take for them to join? I mean, how do young women on the outside want to get involved in that? who do they, who do they see, or, I mean, I know you probably have a website, or, well, you're crowdfunding, but by word of mouth, or where do they go from there?
Yeah,
Mhm.
we have we have a Facebook page, we're on Instagram. I'm out there in the community with flyers and cards. It is basically a word of mouth, but one of the things I want to stress about participating is that what really warmed my heart last year was that people are generally afraid to express themselves. They're not afraid, but they're not real clear on how to approach uh, an outlet like this. Writing a play, and what how to structure it, what to do. But the people that came to the play last year actually submitted their plays for us for this year's contest. And
Mm,
so that was really meaningful
mhm,
because it meant that people got it. They understood what we were doing. And they were willing to trust us with their work. So you see a play and you know that you're looking at the producer, you're looking at the creative director, and you say, you know what, if I step out on faith and write this work or submit my work for someone to read, I trust that they're going to treat it with respect. If I win and they produce this play, that they're going to do the best they can to present my work, and I'm gonna be looking at something that I can be proud of. So that's how we get the word out. And one of the other things that we want to do, and I'll be talking to Ibrahim about this hopefully, is that we want to raise money to create a women's playwriting workshop, so women and girls can learn how to structure a play. Because a lot of the plays that we got, everybody's not a playwright. I minored in theater, but I don't write plays, but I know what a play is supposed to look like. We go to plays, we think we know what it's like to write a play, but you can't, as a judge of those works, you can't necessarily um, rewrite the work or amend it or attend to it because it's not your work. So what we want to do is make sure that next time we have a contest, everybody understands the structural requirements of a play, what the characters are supposed to look like and that kind of thing. So that's how we want to get the word out and get more people involved. But right now, you're right. It's word of mouth. It's social media, and it's production of the work so that people can share what they've experienced. Any
Thank
more
you.
questions?
All right, we'll jump back into it. We'll be sure to take more questions at the end as well. Please, you guys can always follow up directly with us. We can give you some details on that. Maybe in our follow-up email, we can even put a link on the details of the play and how to attend if you're around. A little bit more about patronicity. And so there are some fees in crowdfunding. We have a couple models, but both of them are a 5% fee off of what's raised. Patrons have the option to cover these fees at checkout. We find that a majority of them tend to do so. It greatly reduces the fees. These are just fees to allow us to be sustainable and kind of continue to be able to work. And they're very clear. There's a financial summary page. You can see your fees in live time as donors and donations are coming in. So it's pretty transparent. The other value of crowdfunding is growing your network and volunteer base. I talked about this before, but this is a very important piece that we really want to stress. At the end of the campaign, you have a list of all your donors, and there's a volunteer sign up button. So if someone who's like, hey, I'd love to support this, but I don't have the financial means today, they can sign up to be a volunteer. And so this is an incredible tool that's very public, transparent. Everybody has internet. Everybody has one of these, even like 5-year-olds now. So it is a great way, to be able to reach people. And then I talked a little bit about this before. The crowd comes before the funding. So remembering, yes, funding is really important, but it's also about awareness, sharing the incredible work that you're doing, and empowering your friends, your network to share that as well. So social capital, right? Those are the people that you know. Charlita has been connected to all of these different people, all these different groups in her life, and connecting back with them and saying, "Hey, this is this incredible project. I'd love for you to just, if you have, the opportunity, you can give to it, but also send it to a friend." And crowdfunding is really almost more about the publicity, more about the marketing, more about the crowd and the connections that it can create than the funding. The funding will come, and it will be there, but it's about that awareness. So I'm going to jump into some crowdfunding 101 questions. I'm going to breeze through some of these things. Again, I will always be your crowdfunding coach. So following this, if you're interested, you can start a page, a draft page, and I'll get a notification. I'll start reaching out to you. We can set up a call, talk very specific about what your project is. If you have questions, very, specific details on that. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty stuff during that call. Again, this is just an overview. So crowdfunding, we want to, make sure we bust some myths and remove any fears that people might have on how to get started. Is crowdfunding the right thing for you, right? You have to ask yourself, is it the right time? Do you have community support? So those are key things to think about when you're figuring out if crowdfunding is for you. Also, is it the right phase? You don't want to run a crowdfunding campaign if your project is like, just in the planning process, because these are, local community members who are going to give dollars, and they want to see the outcome. So Charlita's running this campaign. The plays are coming up in spring, and so it's a nice transition into the project coming to life. I saw DeAndre is on this call. He has a teal art walk, raising awareness on how art can benefit and transform mental health. And that walk is this summer. And so he's only launching that campaign late spring, early, summer, kind of like May. And so thinking about what's the right time. How do you want to expand your reach for the project? How do you want to build more public awareness? So these are questions. Are you ready to crowdfund? Knowing your budget. So if you're just like, I just need money, great. But how much? Like in crowdfunding, there is transparency. And so people want to give when they're like, hey, you have a whole plan here. You know exactly you need, $4,000 and it's going to go towards these things. And I would love to support and see that come to life, because I know if we give you if you raise these dollars, you'll be able to put into action, your ideas. And so people like to see that. And that's what that crowdfunding page kind of does. It builds that sense of trust through transparency, and just communicating what you're trying to do and how people can be a part of the impact that you're driving. Ask yourself about having a team. Sometimes we work with a lot of projects that don't have teams. Charlita is a one-woman show, and she does an incredible job reaching out to all these people. But if you do have teams or other stakeholders or other people that you can rely on, that helps broaden the social reach of your campaign. And so these are some questions to see, do you have other advocate organizations that can help, bolster some of the communication? Do you know someone in the local community, maybe a community coffee shop that can promise, hey, for every donation of $5 or more, they'll give a coffee, gift card. So simple things that you can see. Does your team help you move forward? We'll work with projects on identifying like what's your budget, what's the goal, seeing how that'll all work. You want to have an appropriate budget. You don't want something, you don't want to shoot for the stars, because sometimes people, as patrons, as donors, they want to see something that's attainable. And so we can always increase and adjust those goals. If say you have a initial goal of $2,000, you hit it halfway through your campaign, we can create what we call a stretch goal. So we say, hey, we're going to add another, $1,000, and if we can do this, we can do all of these X, Y, and Z extra things. And so talking a little bit about that, funding sources. So this is about thinking ahead of time. Who are the people that I'm going to reach out to? How am I going to, share this? Who is going to find interest and value in this project? Asking these questions. Fundraising plan. We'll work with you. We have a little calendar sometimes. We have different things of touch points and milestones to figure out what are the things you need to be doing at different points throughout your campaign. What are different strategies to re-engage people, to empower people who are your donors, to turn them into your cheerleaders. They've already given, maybe it's $5, but hey, can they challenge a friend, a colleague, a neighbor to match that contribution in any amount, right? Even if it's $1, that expands that reach. So that fundraising plan is really important. Really, we have a whole strategy guide we provide, as soon as you start that campaign. It goes through all of these details. It has campaign checklists. So when you're running, if it's the first time you've ever run a crowdfunding campaign or it's the 10th time, you have someone you can rely on. Sometimes it's just helpful to get on the phone or video call and talk through, hey, these are just my strategies for the week. Great. This week I had a 10-minute call, maybe 7-minute call with Charlita, just, talking over some of the strategies for the next 2 weeks in her campaign. And sometimes that's really, really helpful, whether you have a team or we're also a part of that team at Patronicity. Like I mentioned, that one-on-one coaching, that is really important to us. Not all, you go to GoFundMe, you don't really have a coach, you don't have someone to kind of give you those strategies. But one thing is, we're not fundraising for you. We are fundraising with you. We're kind of like a trainer at a gym. We'll give you all the best practices to be successful, but you still have to lift the weights to see the results. So you're going to know your network. You're going to know the people to do. We'll tell you, hey, try these things. Do these types of emails. Post a video on social media if you have a social media. We've worked with a lot of groups that don't have social media, and they have been really successful. And so figuring out what's going to work for you, how can we utilize all of our strategies? We've worked with over 2,000 different projects, raising nearly $45 million for community projects across the country. So we have strategies that work, and we'd love to share them with you guys. In your campaign, you're going to be telling your story, who you are, what you're doing, why it matters. That's what that crowdfunding page that we kind of showed of the Outside Circle theater project looked like. Making your ask. Charlita talked a little bit about this as well. How can a donor give, why it's important, what's impactful, giving them the opportunity to give. I talked to a lot of folks who are like, well, I'm not sure if my community has the funding. That may be true, right? But sometimes they're able to share that. And they'll be able to make that decision. So they can say, hey, I might not have a ton of funding, but I'm going to give $1 because I want to show my support, or I want to sign up to be a volunteer. But making that ask is the first thing, being optimistic and saying thank you to your patrons, to your donors as they come. This is a project page. We help you kind of figure out how to build this. Everything from your title to your goal to your deadline to rewards, whether they're how those are. Usually we recommend impact rewards. So for $10, you'll be able to. This will have this impact. So not tangible rewards typically. And we walk you through this process. We walk you through what makes a good narrative as well, keeping it short and sweet, but to the point. And then ideas for giving levels, as well as how offline donations work. So say you have someone in the community who's like, I love this project, but I don't like giving online. I'll rather give you, a $50 check. We have a system to categorize that. You can enter that in. You do have to send us, a proof of that check. That check does go to you guys, but that way you can ensure both online and offline dollars are coming together to reach those funding goals. And again, we walk you through all of these details as your project is going. I'm going to wrap up keys to success. Having a strong network. So this, starts out with that. You have to have some people that you can connect to, and then, they can share that. A team is helpful. We have worked with people without teams like Charlie does, but a team is helpful. I know Rob is on this call as well, and he kind of was a one-man team as well. He ran a campaign for Brookside football, junior cards football, helping raise funds for helmet reconditioning. And it is a volunteer led initiative. An incredible project, working with kids playing football. The groundwork. So setting up the campaign, building the campaign page doesn't take a lot of time, but sometimes planning out, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is when the timeline is. So it has a couple weeks to set up and prepare is helpful. And we work with you through that. The pitch and the narrative, creative incentives for giving. What are opportunities you can leverage, that marketing plan, remembering you're going to have many small supporters, many small patrons or donors, and maybe a few larger ones. But it's about reaching as many people, having a personal touch, and lastly, never quit. It's always reaching out to people, reminding folks. There's so many things asking for your donations, from the fires in California to everything in between. It's important. There's a personal connection to your project, and just reminding people they probably want to support your initiatives. They really believe in you and that work, and so just a helpful reminder. That's all I have. Next steps, if you're interested, is you can go to patronicity.com/thepeoplesproject. There's a little apply button there. There's also details on qualifications and rules and other elements there. And then you can set up a call with myself or Brittany and Cole, who are community engagement fellows at the Community Foundation. And we'll talk you through, making sure your project fits and how to get started. Thank you very much. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
Let's look at the chat. Were there any other questions, operational questions in the chat? The first one.
Did he say, oh,
Go
did he
ahead,
say-
Deb.
did he say there was a time limit on, or it all depends on the budget that you ask? Like if you wanted to raise 22,000, or does the crowdfunding only allow for so many months to reach the goal?
Yeah,
Yes.
great question. So typically we recommend a shorter time frame. So whether you're raising, $2,000 or $22,000, we typically recommend 30 to 90 days. And now it sounds short, right? But one of the successes in crowdfunding is a sense of urgency. And so we see a lot of contributions come in the first 3 and 5 days and the last 3 and 5 days. What does that mean? You're going to have your initial people who are like, I love your project. I'm here for it. Here's, my contribution. And then you have the rest of us, like me, who are procrastinators. Who are like, I love this project, but I'll give tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. So having that end date really helps push people to give. And then in terms of just like a marketing statistic, you kind of have a threshold for the amount of people you're ever going to reach. So just by having it open for a year doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more people. And so we will talk to you, figuring out what your timeline is, what is going to be most appropriate for you, and how to run that. Rob, who ran a successful campaign, raised over $4,500, received a $2,000 match, ran a campaign for just about a month, maybe a little bit less than that. And Charlita's campaign will be running for just under 3 months. And so figuring out what's going to work for you and your timeline is important. But the funding, we'll get into that. But yeah, generally around 30 to 90 days. Any other questions here?
I want to answer Katie's question. Katie, you have a question about, do we have to have proof of residency? No, your program, the Free Store in Oberlin, of course, is located in Lorain County. So obviously the majority of the folks that you're serving are being in Lorain County. So that's absolutely fine. There are times where we have organizations or people that may be in a different part of the county that are serving part of our residents. We just ask that be the majority, right? If there's something that's on the outskirts of our county. But what you're talking about, Katie, absolutely qualifies.
Another thing I didn't, sorry, continue. Someone has a question?
I just said thank you. That's all. Sorry.
One thing I wanted to emphasize, Charlita mentioned it as well. anyone is eligible for this, especially if you don't have any nonprofit or incorporated entity. So you could be just a single person, like a strong community advocate. And because of our partnership with the Main Street Lorain, the dollars will go through them, and they can be tax deductible if that's important. But ultimately, you are still eligible for this program. So a lot of grants. You need to be a nonprofit, a 501c3. That's the beauty of this program. You do not need to be. If you are, that's still fine, totally fine. But the partnership with the Main Street Lorain is just to facilitate the transfer of funds.
I see a question asking if Rob could share some of his strategies. Is he on here?
Rob.
Hi, everyone.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, Patronicity did a nice job. I as well have no idea how to do this. I started off as a youth football coach and director, and just saw a need for our kids. So in my hunting of finding how to get more involved and get support for the kids, I came across Patronicity and the People's Project. So if you take Ibrahim's coaching and listen to what he says, he was dead on for us. So in our case, we already had a network of people who were invested in the cause of helmet reconditioning. Any parent, grandparent of a kid in our program knows about the importance. So we did some education on that, and then it was just a numbers game. Honestly, out of the 150 families in our program, 5 donated. Only 5. It's not like, well, everyone just chipped in and that's how we got it. I'm a salesman. It was your classic sales game. You just stay persistent, you get the need out there, you be genuine with why it's important. Our goal was to recondition every helmet. That would have been a $2,000 investment approximately. But with more, we were able to get new helmets, better helmets, updated technology for the kids. And you just stayed persistent. So, I mean, it was slow. The first 2 weeks, I think we had raised under $100. Like it was not much. We started December 3rd, I want to say. But as we got closer to the holidays, we kept hammering it home. And then all of a sudden we got a couple hundred, then 500 and 1,000 people and $1,000 donations. So we found a couple really good donors, but you just got to post on your community pages. So we're Sheffield Village, Sheffield Lake. Go on Facebook, find out who those communities are. The cities have their page, the communities have their own resident pages. And then always send a thank you email. The alerts come through right away. So when I would get an alert from Patronicity, I would get right on, send a thank you, ask why they donated. Do you know anyone else who might be interested? And then we also offered a little bit of advertising at the end. So for $14 per donation of anyone who donated more than 500, they're going to get a couple sets of yard signs, right? So we're going to put a yard sign at our football field that shows that they contributed. They're going to get one for their business. I don't know if that played a whole lot into the success, but we did look for a way to offer back for the donations. And then the last thing is, I was a little on the fence because Junior Cards, it is a nonprofit as its own thing, but I have something separate called Community Football, which is geared towards Lorain County. So one of the first conversations we had with Ibrahim is just, okay, so which entity are we going to lead with? Community Football does things kind of beyond the football field. And Junior Cards is 100% a youth football league. So again, his coaching was right on. We were able to pick the right entity. And within that network and really just within our community, we were able to reach our goal and then create that stretch goal Ibrahim mentioned. We raised our $4,500 and then we increased it to $6,500 or so. I think that's what it was. And we made that. So we raised $8,700, which is a huge success for our program.
Thank you.
Great, that's great.
Any other questions?
I think sometimes your crowdfunding, like you say, is who you know, or or where your position you're in, being that you're around educated teachers that and you're the school system that you got a crowd around you right there, that care about youth. So that kind of, that's a good thing, so where you're at sometimes, where you're positioned at, and you could always take advantage of that other people around you will, understand why you're, and support you in it.
Yeah, you're right. And you're right. So we're not affiliated with the schools, but obviously the kids that are in our league are in the schools and the
Mhm.
football program through the high school. We had those contacts. So, um, the boosters made a small donation, $250. But with the patronicity and the People's Project match, that's $500.
Mhm.
It's impactful.
Very good. Yep. Yep.
All right, I'm sorry, guys. I got to get back to work here. I really wanted to meet some of you people, and please keep in contact. Community football junior cards. We're going to be part of Lorain County for a while, so hope to meet you all in person.
Thank you.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Rob, and congratulations. First, successful campaign in the People's Project program.
The first time. Oh, go ahead.
Lori, did you have a question? I'm
I wanted to say myself, the first time I did a crowdfunding with IOB, it was phenomenal because they coached me, and I was asked for 25, and I ended up raising 5,100, and just for uh, art project, and the people were more receptive than I really thought they would be because from where I live and where I grow up, and everybody's scrapping around and money's tight. Like you said, it was hard for me to ask for money personally, but with the crowdfunding, it kind of set the stage, and uh, it kind of said for itself what's going on. People can read what's going on, and if they had any questions, yeah, but it looked like it really helped me out when I did my first crowdfunding, and I've done others, but I didn't follow through because I got so busy with other stuff. But crowdfunding is a real good source. And when I put my mind to it, I know it could really work. Being consistent. Yeah.
I do have a question and a comment. This is Gloria Buxton.
sure, please.
Um, IOB, Lorain Community Foundation, thank you for my start with Art in the Park and I Can Swim My Way. And it started 2021, after COVID. But this year I'm leaning towards a different direction because volunteering has been such a blessing for me. And I would like this year for those people that are going to work with the project that I have designed to give more into volunteering their time with the children. So with that being said, the volunteers that I choose are already on the clock and being paid for their services. So that's just an idea and a question, I guess, in so many ways of using this platform to pay for maybe materials. But I think I found some other ways that I can get some students to peer-to-peer lead with the art and the idea that I have generating around in my head. Does that make sense?
I think so. So you're certainly a volunteer, and if I'm hearing you correctly, you may be using some students and maybe they're being paid or receiving a stipend from another organization or another 501c3, but you still have expenses that you need to cover. And yes, that would make sense. That would align with what we're trying to do here. Was
Okay.
that your question?
Yeah, that's the direction, because in the past I have paid fees for artists to come out and work with the children. And those fees are going up. artists are requiring more money, which is understandable. But, you know, to get a crowdfunding platform just to pay for people to work is, I don't know, how do I want to say that? I think because I volunteer so much time and I get so much rewards from it, and based on the statistics and the research, volunteering does, that's my clock. My life has been definitely enhanced by volunteering.
Well, I was just, heard recently that volunteering is one of the pieces, research-based that can turn back our biological clock. So that's just biological age, it said. So that's to put that out there for us.
And don't forget Volunteer Connect at loraincounty.com if you have a project that you'd like to sign up.
That's right. That's exactly right. So we appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for being here. Ibrahim, thank you very much for your leadership and for leading us through today. I want to thank our partners at Main Street Lorain. Again, if you're not a 501c3, that's fine. We'll work with you to partner with them. I want to thank Brittany, Ware, and Cole. Please reach out to either of them or to the information you saw from Ibrahim directly with any questions. And then also, like-minded folks, when we talk about residential engagement and community engagement, neighbor nights, there's certainly not necessarily a requirement to go hand in hand with this, but I think it helps. And I don't think it's coincidence that so many of our projects come out of our neighbor nights. So tomorrow night, we will be in Elyria at the library downtown from 5:30 to 7:30. Next Thursday, we'll be in Lorain at Harrison Cultural Community Center from 6 to 8. And then in February, we'll be in Oberlin. I believe it's a Tuesday on February 4. And we'll be at the Oberlin Enrichment Center. So again, ask any of us if you're interested and want to know a little bit more about that. We'd love to have you RSVP and see you there. But thank you for everybody. We appreciate your time.
Stay warm.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks, bye.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks.